Hi, everybody. Today we've got Julie Jones, who's editor of Travel Without Limits magazine and creator and author of the Have Wheelchair with Travel blog, inclusive travel blog. And really happy to see you here in Canberra today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, and thanks for joining me for a chat to celebrate International Women's Day.
Well, I think it's a really important day to celebrate and couldn't think of anyone better to share it with.
Fantastic, thank you. Well, I might just jump into it. I've just got a series of questions for you, and I'm happy to get your top of the head responses. So the first question is that you're an avid traveler. What are some of the more inclusive countries or places that you've been to?
Well, I think we do things quite well in Australia. I think there's still room for improvement, as there is around the world, really. But here, there's some fantastic experiences that we've had. I'd say the US is very accessible. But Fiji is one of the ones that stands out as being an inclusive destination because although physically not as accessible, the attitude of the Fijian people is so inclusive that my son Braden was able to have experiences there that he's not had anywhere else in the world. So there's kind of a combination of things. I guess the US has got the physical access with the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, in place, but Fiji definitely stands out as a really amazing destination.
Yeah, thank you. And you touched upon something that is so important that we're always telling tourism businesses, that the attitude and the welcoming nature and customer service side is almost more important than actually ticking the boxes of the accessibility, because that often makes it far better for the people with disabilities to feel included.
That's right, and I think that it's a matter of not telling us what's accessible, but allowing us to decide what's accessible. So if they're inclusive and open to the idea of us being able to do different things, then it may open, a door that otherwise would be closed.
Yeah, exactly my views. Thank you. So question 2, what are the changes occurring in the travel and leisure industry due to COVID-19 that you see bringing more change to being more accessible and inclusive?
Well, I think that suddenly the world is closed off to Australia, and therefore the tourism industry needs to look at different markets because they've lost a lot of the dollars that they were getting from overseas. So I think that's definitely making them more open to possibly attracting the accessible market. So that's one. I also think that we're looking at different areas to travel to. So for our family, we've been going to regional areas a lot more, and we've found that there's actually quite good accessibility in many areas. So that's been fantastic to see, and I think they've been encouraged by the interest in tourism as well in those areas.
Yeah, we're very like-minded.
Yeah.
So what is your advice for someone who's interested in advocating for more inclusive and accessible travel?
For me, I always think it's good to go about it in the nicest possible way rather than, really outing somebody to the Sydney Morning Herald or one of the major newspapers. I find that brings a lot of fear in the tourism industry. So we've actually found that has closed a lot of doors to us about talking about accessible, inclusive tourism. So I definitely think it's about showing people what it means to you. So I've always gone a very personal approach, and people, once they've seen our family experiencing something and seeing how much it means to us as a family, but to Braden particularly, often they've really warmed to the idea of doing more. So for us, it's really about going about it nicely, alerting them to what maybe they could do better, but not necessarily outing them.
So advocacy by example.
Yes. That would have been a simple answer.
Okay, so you've already talked about Braden, and for those that don't know, Braden is in a wheelchair, one of your 2 children, and so you travel with your family. And what has the experience of travel meant for you personally and as a family?
Well, I used to work in the travel industry, so I always imagined that we would travel the world as a family, and my family had done that with me when I was younger. We travelled for 6 months around Europe, and so I guess the fact that we can travel as a family has liberated me in realizing that we can do it. And I think there's nothing worse in life than feeling an option is closed off to you. I think it affects your whole mental well-being. It's not just about travel, it's about so much more. And if you go and have an experience that works well and bonds you as a family, you all come away on such a high that carries you over to the therapy and the bad days and everything else. So for us, travel's meant that the kids have been really bonded as siblings because they're sharing experiences. For my husband Mark and I think it takes us away from being carers because often there's so much admin and daily rigmarole. Just going and having fun together and remembering, that that's what's important as a family is really important.
Wonderful. So can you tell us about some of the simplest changes that the travel industry could make that would make a big difference for travelers with a disability?
Well, the first one I tell everyone is just put your information out there, put it on an accessibility tab on the front page of your website. You don't need to say that you're accessible, just show photos, give information so people can make their own decision as to whether it's accessible. I think that honestly is the simplest thing businesses can do.
Yes, and it's as simple as for the general population putting their opening hours or their ticket prices.
Well,
I mean, for people like us, that is key basic information that tells us whether or not we can go to a venue.
That's right, and I find it quite unbelievable what comes before the accessibility information in frequently asked questions. Whether a dog bowl is provided, whether I can bring my dog to a destination. And it's not talking about a therapy dog or an assistance dog. This is literally talking about your beloved pooch. So I feel like as a society we need to really prioritise, and I'm not saying there shouldn't be the information about the dog. I'm not a dog hater. I just think accessibility should be a foregone conclusion in the information that's provided.
Yeah, I mean, we are 20% of the population and 1 in 3 households.
Yes.
So I wonder if there are that many households that have a dog.
I don't know. Probably.
Yeah, we are quite significant, and I think part of the problem is that we're not that visible. And as families like yours and mine continue to travel and continue to be visible, perhaps the attitudes are slowly changing in terms of how prevalent and how big the market really is.
And I think we just need imagery, don't we? We don't see any imagery. It's very rare to pick up a newspaper and see the travel section has any images of somebody, who is blind travelling with their guide dog, or somebody travelling with a wheelchair or a walking frame, or, any of those sorts of images are just, they're not there.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, and I don't know if you know, but Getaboutable was funded through from the ACT government to specifically get some marketing material for the ACT.
Fantastic.
For accessible tourism. So we'll be rolling that out in the next 6 months.
Fantastic.
Yeah. What is your advice to families who are contemplating their first holiday or travel experience with a wheelchair or any other disability?
I would say start local. If you just start local and work out what you need, what makes a good holiday for you, things like that. I think when we first started, we just thought we'd go to whatever destination and didn't really plan it out so much. And for us, we pay a bit more for accommodation, but being able to roll out the door of a hotel, say in San Francisco, we paid a fortune for a property at Fisherman's Wharf, but just being able to roll out the door, not have to wait for the car to come from valet, not have to get the wheelchair in and out of the car each time, do transfers with Braden. For us, that's important, but for another family, it might be something totally different. But I think if you start local, if it's failure, you can go home and get the things that you really need as well, which is good. So, a city escape is a good way, a staycation in your own town, become a tourist and visit the museum or the aquarium that you don't normally visit, and just see what you need.
Yeah, and especially with COVID, that it's very often a necessity. And those activities of just getting out and about, again, as you say, are bonding for families.
Yes. Yeah.
Encourage people to go out and give it a go.
Yes, for sure.
Do you think there are unique challenges to women with disability relating to access and inclusion.
That's a good one. I think there are, I don't know whether I'd say specifically to women though. I'm just thinking about it. That's a great question. I think the lack of unisex bathroom facilities makes it very difficult, in the fact that if you have a male companion, husband, carer, whoever that's assisting you when you're out and you can't access a unisex bathroom, that's a problem.
We've had many occasions in various countries, some quite embarrassing, where security guards have been forced to clear out an entire bathroom because my care and I are of opposite sex.
That's right.
I mean, it wouldn't just be for the woman with disability, it might also be the woman as a carer.
Oh, that's right, because for me with Braden, exactly, that's exactly why that comes to mind. Apart from that, I'm not sure, I guess because I'm not in that position. I would think perhaps people would assume that there would be weakness, perhaps, or an inability to do certain things, but I'd hate to answer it in one way because I feel like you'd be better to answer that question than I would be.
Well, in fact, when this question got put forward to me as something to ask, that was my first reaction as well. It's the predominant stereotype or discriminating stereotype in my mind. It's the disability. It's not that I'm a woman. So if anything, being a woman is actually equalizing in terms of gender issues.
Yes. I always just think that if I don't have the lived experience, I can learn certainly from you and from other people with a disability, but predominantly I feel like my expertise is in assisting, somebody with a disability rather than being the person who has I've learned a lot through my readers, have Wheelchair Will Travel, and just this week, 2 people who actually both live in Canberra have told me difficulties they've had. And it's great for me to hear that. I mean, I'm sorry that they've had difficulties, but it's great for me to get that feedback because it helps me to then be able to advocate better for those sorts of things.
Yeah, wonderful. And I guess final question to celebrate International Women's Day is, who are the women who inspire you?
Oh my gosh. Well, number one would be my mum, I have to say. But I mean, people like you who are sort of really forging forward, trying, to affect change and bring about, change that is going to have an impact on so many people. I think that's, a great legacy for us to all leave if we can say that we have affected change that will help future generations.
Well, thank you so much, and I have to admit the feeling is absolutely mutual. When I was asked who I would like to interview for International Women's Day, you were definitely top of my list. So
oh, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
So I guess thank you, everyone, and Julie and I will continue advocating for people with disability to participate in travel and leisure with their families and friends as an inclusive part of society. So thank you very much. Okay, bye.